Trump just lit the fuse of an economic war. With a single letter, he shattered months of negotiations and slapped a brutal 30% tariff on all European Union imports starting August 1st. He blamed the EU for America's massive trade deficit and warned that if Europe dares to retaliate, even harsher tariffs will follow. European leaders are furious. Markets are rattling. And the future of transatlantic trade now hangs by a thread. Is this just another Trump tactic or the beginning of a global trade war? The world is watching, and time is running out. Trump didn't whisper, he roared. On July 12, 2025, U.S. President Donald Trump dropped an economic bombshell that sent shockwaves through Brussels and the entire global market. In a dramatic announcement posted to his Truth Social account, Trump declared a 30% tariff on all European Union imports, effective August 1st. The timing? Deliberate. The message? Brutal. The EU, already walking a tightrope with ongoing negotiations, was caught off guard. Just weeks earlier, diplomats believed they were close to a deal. But with a few strokes of a pen, Trump torched the table, claiming years of unfair trade practices, massive deficits, and EU protectionism had left America with no choice but to strike back. Hard. Markets trembled. European leaders scrambled. The transatlantic relationship, long considered a pillar of economic stability, was suddenly under siege. French President Emmanuel Macron warned of retaliation, while Germany urged calm. Meanwhile, the European Commission prepared for what it called proportionate countermeasures. Trump's move isn't just about trade, it's about power, leverage, and political dominance. The countdown to August 1st has begun, and unless cooler heads prevail, the world could be on the brink of a full-blown trade war between allies. Trump says it's about fairness. But is it really? In his fiery letter to the European Commission, Trump claimed the U.S. has suffered long enough from non-reciprocal trade with the EU. He pointed to a $235 billion trade deficit, accusing Europe of using hidden tariffs, unfair standards, and barriers to block American goods. His message was blunt. We've talked for years. Now we act. But analysts aren't buying the surface explanation. Many believe Trump's move is more about politics than policy, a strategy to ignite nationalist support, pressure allies, and score points ahead of key elections. By blaming Europe, Trump paints himself as the hero fighting for American jobs and industry. Yet behind this bold stance lies a dangerous game. Trump warned the EU that any retaliation would be punished with even higher tariffs, a threat that resembles more of a power play than genuine negotiation. Critics say it's another chapter in Trump's long history of shock and bargain tactics, unleashing chaos first, then forcing talks on his terms. Whether it's economic defense or political theater, one thing is clear. Trump has chosen confrontation over compromise, and the EU now stands at a crossroads: submit, negotiate, or strike back. The European Union didn't panic, but it didn't stay silent either. Within hours of Trump's explosive tariff announcement, EU leaders gathered in urgent meetings. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen issued a sharp yet measured response, saying the EU would do whatever is necessary to safeguard European interests, including launching proportionate countermeasures. Behind closed doors, tempers flared. France's Emmanuel Macron was furious, calling Trump's move a direct assault on European sovereignty. He demanded immediate preparations for a tariff response, warning that economic blackmail must not become the new normal. Meanwhile, Germany, whose powerful auto industry faces billions in losses, urged restraint and a push to salvage negotiations. The EU is split, not in resolve, but in strategy. Some leaders want to hit back hard. Others fear a retaliation spiral that could cripple trade across both continents. The bloc's anti-coercion instrument is ready, legislation designed specifically to respond to economic bullying. Still, the EU hasn't walked away. Von der Leyen said talks could still continue before the August 1st deadline. But every hour without progress brings Europe closer to escalation. This isn't just diplomacy, it's a geopolitical chess match. And every move now counts. For months, it looked like a deal was close. EU negotiators had been burning the midnight oil, holding backdoor meetings with US officials, trading draft proposals, and even softening earlier demands. Trade Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič was in regular contact with Washington, and Ursula von der Leyen had spoken directly with Trump. The goal? Avoid a trade war. But then, it all collapsed. Trump's July 12th letter wasn't just a policy shift. It was a public slap in the face to months of diplomacy. Officials in Brussels were stunned. Some had believed the 10% temporary tariff Trump imposed earlier was just a negotiating bluff. Instead, the White House had been quietly preparing form letters to over 20 countries, including the EU, demanding massive tariff concessions or else. Trump's letter to Europe was blunt and unapologetic. Drop your tariffs, open your markets fully to the US, or pay the price. And if Europe retaliates, we'll raise tariffs even higher. Many now believe the negotiations were never real. Trump wasn't looking for compromise, he was waiting to strike. The result? Trust is broken, pressure is rising, and the EU is now preparing for a war it hoped to avoid. The numbers are staggering. In 2024 alone, trade between the US and EU totaled 1.7 trillion euros. That's over 4.6 billion euros a day in goods and services. Now, a flat 30% tariff threatens to upend one of the world's most important economic partnerships. Europe's most vital industries are in the crosshairs. German automakers, Italian winemakers, Irish pharmaceutical giants, and French aerospace companies all stand to lose billions. Supply chains carefully built over decades could be wrecked in weeks. Experts warn of job losses, manufacturing slowdowns, and rising consumer prices on both sides of the Atlantic. The impact won't stop at factories. Small exporters, farmers, tech innovators, and even medical suppliers face steep costs or lost access to their biggest market. Already, European trade groups are warning of devastating consequences if the tariffs take effect. For consumers, it could mean higher prices on everyday products. For businesses, it means uncertainty. For governments, it means choosing between retaliation or restraint. And while Trump claims these tariffs will revive the US economy, critics say this could drag the entire global market into recession, especially if more nations follow the EU's lead in striking back. The countdown to August 1st is ticking, and no one knows what Trump will do next. Historically, he's threatened tariffs and pulled back, but this time feels different. His tone is harsher, the numbers bigger, and the warnings clearer. Retaliate, and we'll raise it even more. Europe is stuck in a high-stakes gamble with a president who thrives on chaos and confrontation. The EU says it's still willing to negotiate, but only on fair terms. Behind the scenes, trade ministers are drawing up retaliation lists worth billions, targeting American exports from agriculture to tech. If these countermeasures are triggered, the Transatlantic alliance could spiral into a prolonged economic Cold War. And let's not forget, this doesn't end with Europe. Canada, Brazil, Japan, and more than 20 other nations have received similar threats. If Trump follows through, the global trade order could collapse into a patchwork of tit-for-tat tariffs and broken agreements. Trump calls it economic liberation. Critics call it reckless. But whether this ends in a last-minute handshake or a historic rupture, one thing is clear. The world is watching, and the future of global trade could be decided in the next few weeks. This isn't just about tariffs, it's about power, sovereignty, and the future of global trade. Will diplomacy win, or are we heading toward economic chaos? Like, comment, and subscribe if you believe the world deserves fairness, not fear, in trade. Your voice matters. Be part of the conversation.